Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You know, we love to dig into the latest market trends, and today we're focusing on some pretty surprising moves made by Stephen Cohen.
Yeah, this should be interesting.
Yeah, I think so. Cohen, he's the guy behind Point72 Asset Management.
Right?
And he's got a heck of a track record. He's actually the 12th most successful hedge fund manager in history.
Which is saying something.
It is. Since 1992, he's raked in something like $38 billion in profits.
Wow.
So yeah, when this guy makes a move, Wall Street definitely pays attention.
For sure.
So get this. In the third quarter of 2024, he did something pretty unexpected.
Okay, I'm listening.
He sold off his entire stake in Apple, which was his second largest holding at the time.
Interesting. So Apple is definitely the kind of company you expect a hedge fund manager to do.
I know, right? You'd think it'd be a safe bet.
Especially someone like Cohen.
Exactly. But it gets even more interesting what he did with the money.
Okay, what did you do?
He bought a big chunk of Axon Enterprise.
Axon Enterprise. Yeah, they specialize in AI technology for law enforcement.
Ah, okay, that makes more sense.
And their stock has been on fire lately, up over 500% in under 3 years.
Wow, that is impressive.
It is, and that's what makes Cohen's move so intriguing. Does he think Axon is a better bet than Apple right now?
It does kind of make you wonder.
It does. So to figure that out, we need to start by looking closer at Apple and why Cohen might be moving away from it.
Right, because on the surface, Apple seems like a solid investment.
It does. They're a giant in the tech world. They practically invented the modern smartphone, and their customers are incredibly loyal.
No argument there, but even giants can stumble.
True. And Apple is facing some headwinds that might have Cohen second-guessing things.
Like what?
Well, for starters, they're losing ground in China big time. Their iPhone sales there plummeted by 18% in the last quarter of 2024.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was a rough quarter, and it knocked them out of the top 3 smartphone brands in the country.
That's a big deal. China is a huge market for Apple.
It is, and this sales slump is a major red flag for investors.
I can see why, and aren't they also caught up in that legal battle with Google?
They are, yeah. It all comes down to whether Google has to pay to be the default search engine in Apple's Safari browser.
Right.
And if the courts rule against Apple, it could cost them something like $20 billion in annual revenue from services.
Whoa, $20 billion.
Yeah, it's a huge chunk of change.
And I think some analysts are saying that could lead to a 4 to 6% hit to their overall profits.
Exactly. It's definitely a situation worth watching.
For sure.
And then there's all that hype about Apple's new AI features driving a wave of iPhone upgrades.
Right, all the new bells and whistles.
Yeah, well, it turns out consumers aren't as impressed as Apple hoped.
Oh, really? So they're not rushing out to buy the latest model?
Not really. One analyst even said consumers seem unmoved by the AI functionality.
Huh. So maybe all that hype was a bit premature.
It seems that way, and on top of all that, there's the issue of Apple's stock price.
Okay, yeah, their stock has been doing pretty well, hasn't it?
It shot up 72% in the last 2 years, but that's mostly because investors are willing to pay more for each dollar of Apple's earnings, not because their actual earnings have grown that much.
So it's more about perception than actual performance.
Right, and that's reflected in their current price-to-earnings ratio. It's at 33, which is pretty high.
Meaning the stock might be overvalued.
Exactly. Investors are betting on a lot of future growth, which might be unrealistic given all the challenges they're facing.
So maybe Cohen is seeing the writing on the wall, cutting his losses before things potentially get worse for Apple.
It's a possibility, but now we need to understand why he's so interested in Axon.
Yeah, they're not exactly Apple. They're not a household name.
They're not, but maybe that's part of the appeal. Maybe Cohen sees an opportunity to get in early on something big.
That's certainly possible. He's known for his smart investments.
He is, and Axon is doing some really interesting things with AI, especially in the world of law enforcement.
Okay, so it's more than just their tasers that everyone knows about.
Oh yeah, much more. They're providing a whole suite of technology for law enforcement and government agencies, things like body cameras, sensors, and software for managing evidence, writing reports, even getting real-time situational awareness during emergencies.
Well, that sounds like some pretty advanced stuff.
It is. They're really pushing the boundaries of what's possible in law enforcement technology, and AI is a big part of that.
AI? Huh. Interesting. Tell me more about that.
Well, they've actually built AI directly into a lot of their products.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me an example.
Take their Draft One software, for example. It uses footage from body cameras to automatically draft police reports.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
So it does all the paperwork for them?
Well, not all of it, but it takes care of a lot of the tedious stuff, which saves officers a ton of time.
I can imagine. And it probably reduces errors, too.
Exactly. It frees them up to focus on more important tasks.
That's a game changer for sure.
It is, and it seems like law enforcement agencies agree because Draft 1 hit a $100 million revenue pipeline faster than any other product in the company's history.
Wow, so they're not just talking about AI, they're actually implementing it in a way that's making a real difference.
Exactly, and that's what makes Axon so intriguing. They're not just riding the AI wave, they're solving real problems for law enforcement.
And that's got to be attractive to investors like Cohen.
Absolutely. It shows they're not just about hype, they're delivering real value.
So they've got the technology, the vision, and they're making money. Sounds like a pretty solid investment.
It does. But we still need to dive deeper into their financials and their overall market position before we can say for sure if Cohen's made the right move.
All right, let's do it. I'm ready to learn more about this Axon Enterprise.
Me too. Let's get into it. So we've talked about their technology and those impressive financials, but what really sets Axon apart in the AI and public safety space?
Well, one thing that really jumps out at me is their focus on becoming like this go-to platform for law enforcement. They're not just selling individual products, they're building this whole interconnected ecosystem that covers everything from, evidence capture and management to training and real-time operations.
I see. So it's more than just selling gadgets. It's about providing a comprehensive solution that integrates with how law enforcement works.
Exactly. They're aiming to be like the operating system of public safety.
I like that, the operating system.
Yeah, and that's a really powerful position to be in, especially as AI becomes, increasingly important in this field.
Right. And speaking of AI, I remember reading that Axon CEO Rick Smith, he said their goal is to be the indisputable leader in applying AI to public safety.
Of a bold statement.
It is.
But I think they're backing it up with a real action.
Yeah, and can you give us some more examples of how they're using AI beyond that Draft 1 software?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
One area where they're making huge strides is in automatic transcription and redaction of video evidence, which is a massive time saver for police departments. Manually redacting sensitive information from body camera footage can take hours.
Yeah, I bet that's super tedious.
It is, and it's prone to human error.
Right.
But with Axon's AI-powered system, the process is automated and way more accurate.
So it's not just faster, it's better.
Right. It saves time, protects privacy, and helps ensure compliance with all those legal requirements.
That makes a lot of sense. So they're streamlining workflows and increasing efficiency and accuracy all at the same time.
That's the idea. And they're not stopping there.
What else are they doing?
Well, another really fascinating application is in real-time situational awareness.
Okay.
They're developing systems that can analyze data from multiple sources like body cameras, drone sensors, to give officers a much more complete picture of what's happening, during an incident.
So it's like having an AI-powered command center that can help officers make better decisions in really high-pressure situations.
Exactly. It's all about using AI to make things safer for both law enforcement and the public.
This is really interesting. I'm starting to see why Cohen might be so bullish on Axon. They're not just, jumping on the AI bandwagon. They're actually using it in a smart and strategic way.
Right. They're solving real-world problems, and I think that's what sets them apart.
It does. And let's not forget their market position. They're already the leader in tasers, body cameras, and evidence management software.
Oh, yeah. They're dominant in those areas, and they're also expanding into new areas, like drones and robotics.
So they're not just resting on their laurels.
Nope. They're aggressively going after new opportunities.
Okay, so they're the market leader with cutting-edge technology and a clear vision for the future. It's a pretty compelling story, but we can't ignore that sky-high valuation.
Well, that's the big question mark.
120 times adjusted earnings. That's a lot.
It is. It's a significant premium compared to most other companies, even in the high-growth tech sector.
So is Cohen just taking a gamble here, or is he seeing something that other investors are missing?
Well, it's always tough to know what's going on in the mind of a legendary investor like Cohen.
Right.
But I think there are a few things that might be fueling his confidence.
Okay. Lay it on me.
Well, first off, Axon has an incredible track record of exceeding earnings expectations.
Like they're consistently beating the forecast.
Oh, yeah. They've surpassed analyst estimates for the last 12 quarters in a row.
Yeah, that's impressive.
It is. And in the last 6 quarters, they've beaten those estimates by an average of 34%.
Wow. They're crushing it. So it's not just hype, they're actually delivering.
Exactly. And this consistent overperformance, it suggests that their growth trajectory might be even steeper than what analysts are predicting.
So even though their valuation seems high right now, it might not be so crazy if they keep exceeding expectations like this.
That's one way to look at it.
Hmm.
Another thing to consider is the size of their addressable market.
Okay.
Icon estimates that their target market is worth a whopping $77 billion.
77 billion with the B?
Yeah, and right now they've only captured about 3% of that market.
Wow, that's a lot of room to grow.
Right. Even if their growth slows down a bit, they still have a massive runway ahead of them.
They do, and that might be why Cohen's not too worried about that high valuation. He's betting on Axon's ability to dominate this rapidly growing market.
Yeah, a market that's ripe for disruption.
And a market that's only going to become more important as technology, especially AI, plays a bigger role in law enforcement and public safety.
Sure. So while there's always a risk, that Axon might stumble their current position combined with their, aggressive growth strategy, and now Cohen's backing makes them a very compelling investment story.
It's a fascinating case study, seeing Cohen look past Apple and bet on a company that's building the future of public safety.
Yeah, it's definitely a sign of the times.
It is, but what does all this mean for the average investor?
That's the million-dollar question, and one that we should definitely explore further.
Okay, so let's shift gears and talk about the bigger picture. Okay, so we've spent a good chunk of time analyzing, Apple and Axon. But I'm really curious to hear your take on what Cohen's decision to swap these stocks might tell us about the future of tech.
Well, it's definitely a bold move,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it highlights this growing trend. We're seeing a shift away from, those big established tech giants
Right.
towards companies that are really disrupting these traditional industries with AI.
Yeah. So it's not just about the next big thing in tech. It's about how tech is being used to solve these real world problems in innovative ways.
Exactly, and Axon is a perfect example of that. They're not just building cool gadgets. They're using AI to fundamentally change how law enforcement operates.
Yeah.
Making it more efficient, more transparent, more accountable.
And that's got to be a story that resonates with investors, people who are looking for companies that are not only profitable, but also making a positive impact.
Right. It's about more than just financial returns. It's about investing in companies that are aligned with your values. I like that. Your vision for the future.
This whole conversation is making me rethink my own investment strategy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've always kind of gravitated towards those big, familiar tech names, but maybe I need to be a little more open to exploring these smaller, more disruptive companies.
Well, I think it's always good to challenge your assumptions and, explore different perspectives.
Yeah.
The investment landscape is always changing.
That's true. What worked in the past might not work in the future.
Exactly.
So if we zoom out and look at the bigger picture, what key takeaways should our listeners keep in mind when they're making investment decisions?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's crucial to do your research.
Right.
Understand the fundamentals of the companies you're considering investing in. Look beyond the hype. Try to assess their long-term growth potential, their competitive advantages, and the overall market trends. What's happening in the industry.
So don't just jump on the bandwagon because a big name investor made a move.
Exactly. Do your own
Yeah.
due diligence, make informed decisions.
Oh, okay. And what about diversification?
Oh, that's key too.
Yeah.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
As we've seen with Cohen's move, even the most established companies can face, unexpected challenges.
They can.
So spreading your investments across different sectors, different companies, it helps to mitigate risk.
That's good advice. And speaking of risk, how should our listeners think about the balance between risk and reward when they're evaluating these investment opportunities?
Right. Well, that's a crucial consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Higher growth companies like Axon, they often come with higher risk, but they also offer the potential for much higher returns.
Makes sense.
And conversely, those more established companies like Apple, they might be perceived as safer bets,
Right.
but they may also offer more modest growth potential.
So it really comes down to your personal risk tolerance and your investment goals.
Exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Nope.
It's about finding the right balance for you.
So to wrap things up, it seems like Cohen's decision to swap Apple for Axon, it's more than just a stock trade.
I think so.
It's a reflection of this broader shift we're seeing in the tech landscape, a move towards companies that are using AI to solve these real-world problems and create new markets.
And it's a reminder that we as investors need to be adaptable,
Right.
willing to embrace new opportunities even if they challenge our existing assumptions.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So we've covered a lot of ground today, but before we go, we want to leave you with a final thought to ponder.
Okay.
If you had to choose Would you invest in a company that's, built on the success of the past, like Apple, or one that's betting on the potential of the future, like Axon Enterprise?
That is a tough one.
There's no right or wrong answer, but the decision itself, it can reveal a lot about your investment philosophy and your vision of what's to come.
That's true, for sure.
So we'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your insights with us in the comments.
Yeah, join the conversation.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Stephen Cohen's investment strategies and the future of tech. We'll catch you next time for another insightful exploration of the market's most intriguing trends.